Thank you for your wonderful welcome. I'm happy to be back here. We've been through a lot since last time that I was here. But here we are in the present moment. And it's a good thing to start by acknowledging the present moment. That may sound a little strange. How do you do that? Well, you acknowledge whatever it is you're perceiving right now, the totality of this room, and your presence, without which there would be no room that's being perceived. Becoming aware of your presence, so to speak. Now, some of you, or many of you, are able to verify that right now in your own experience. Becoming aware of the presence means becoming aware of yourself, but not of yourself in the usual way. In the usual way, when you're aware of yourself, you're aware of yourself as a person, which of course you also are. In other words, what is the person? It's a narrative in your mind about who you are. That's, and other people's minds interacting with your mind, giving you a reflection of who you are, or who they think you are, what you think you are. And there is a narrative, and the human being derives his or her sense of identity from the narrative in their mind. That's usually becoming aware of yourself. When we say that usually means, okay, you become aware of the whole story of you. The whole thing, the whole story of me, oh my God. I'd rather not think about it, but I can't help it. I can't help it. It's so important. I can't stop thinking about me. At night, the problematic me. How is it all going to end? Not well. Why did it have to go so wrong here and there? Because most stories, things do go wrong quite a bit here and there in your past. That wasn't supposed to happen. And then came this pandemic. What was that about? So usually when you're becoming aware of yourself in a conventional sense means becoming aware of yourself as a character in a story, which is me. But this is not what I'm talking about right now. We want to go deeper than that, or not. Most humans don't even know that there's a possibility of going deeper. They are stuck on that level of personal selfhood, so to speak. They are stuck on that level their whole lifetime. They live identified with this problematic narrative that they call I. I is most people's favorite word. I mean, people use it a lot. Probably the most frequently used word, except in the English language, at least. In some other language, the I is incorporated into the structure of the verb, but that doesn't matter. So, becoming aware of yourself there is a deeper dimension to you, and we're now going straight into the deep end of that. I was going to start with some kind of introduction, but it never happens. The present moment, sometimes my mind prepares something to say, but I never use it. Because when you're in the moment, whatever needs to be said in that moment emerges spontaneously, and it's always right for that moment, and the prepared thing is never right when the moment comes. I should have known that by now, but my mind just doesn't. But the good thing is, at least my mind stops the moment I sit here, then it really goes, okay, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And then I have learned to be comfortable with that. And that's the solution, is to become comfortable with not knowing. Oh, that's wonderful. I don't need to know what I'm going to say. Oh, okay. The story is the personal self that most people, that makes up most people's reality. The entire identity is there, the entire identity. And then there's something deeper that most people are not aware of, except those who are awakening to that dimension, or the people in whom this dimension is awakening, or we could say humans who are becoming aware of that dimension that is always and has always been there. So it's not this deeper dimension of consciousness is not something that you need to achieve or create or bring about, but it is not an achievement to become aware of yourself at this deeper level. It is a realization, but not an achievement.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not, because if it were an achievement, then time could get you there. One day I am going to be fully myself, I'm going to awaken, I'm going to realize where I'm going to be enlightened one day, but not now. Why not now? Well, obviously I'm not now, obviously. You can see I've got so many things on my plate, I can't do it now. The ancient Greeks, like Socrates, had the famous dictum, know thyself. Know yourself. That was inscribed at the Temple of Delphi in ancient Greece 2,500 years ago. Know thyself. And many subsequent generations weren't quite sure what was meant by that. And then later people began to think, well, it probably means exploring the makeup of your psyche to find out what all the content, including the hidden content of your mind. Freud came along, psychoanalysis came along. Let's delve into the farthest recesses of your mind and see what hidden impulses and desires and fears and so on are hiding there. Okay. That takes many years of psychoanalysis. And the more you explore, the more you find. When I was 3 years old, that happened. And then that happened. And I forgot about that. But to know thyself, at the deepest level meant by Socrates, is something deeper than knowing the story of yourself, although there's nothing wrong with exploring that dimension too. It's fine, but that's not the essence. You will never get to the essence of your being in that dimension. So know thyself. Becoming aware of yourself, but not as the story. Okay. In other words, at this deeper level, you have to let go of the movement of thought when you're looking for yourself at the deeper level. Because thought is part of the personal selfhood, and so is it possible, are you able to let go of thought, not look for yourself on the level of thought? Well, okay, who are you without thought? Is it possible to stop thinking? Do you need to make an effort to stop thinking? Or is there perhaps a natural gap that arises in the stream of thinking, the gap between two thoughts, this one and the next? Definitely there was a gap there, but where it is now, it's gone. The mind has come in and said, was there really a gap? Or, I didn't like that gap because I disappeared. Did you really disappear in that moment of stillness? In other words, what is left of you when you're not thinking about yourself or not thinking about anything at all, but you're not falling asleep, except maybe one or two of you had a sleepless night yesterday, or a friend dragged you here and you didn't really want to come, and you're thinking, what is this guy talking about? He's insane. So the stillness arises. Stillness is within. Stillness arises in the gap between two thoughts. This is a visual representation of the gap of stillness. Here it is. Okay, now, interesting, we have to explore. Now, using words again, but the words always point to something that's beyond the words. So the words are signposts. So the words then say, did you disappear in that stillness? What is left of you without referring to any kind of thought or memory, but you're not falling asleep? And a similar question one could ask, what does it feel like to be you without thought? What is left of you without thinking about you yourself? Is there, have you disappeared completely, or is there something that is impossible to define? That can only be described, if you have to use words, as a sense of beingness or presence. So as I use the word beingness, interesting word, you are aware in that still space, you know that you are, that you, in other words, in many ancient spiritual traditions, you have the term I am. I am is the primordial realization of your essence that is beyond the person. And a deep place where you are connected with something vast. Don't need to go there and put that aside for a moment. Let's keep it practical. So, what remains is a sense of knowing that you are. I am, without adding anything to it, not this or that, but the pure sense of beingness. I am. And that is simply, that is a realization. And at first it's perhaps very fleeting, maybe just a few seconds in terms of time. And then when you realize that this dimension exists, then you can go there more often. You will want to go there more often because it's so beautiful.
Yes.
At first it seems that nothing really, there's a nothingness, a no, and it is true that it is a no-thingness,
Nothing.
where you are not a thing, you are not an object of consciousness, you are consciousness itself. And then objects arise in consciousness. A thought is an object that arises in consciousness in the same way that a wave or ripple forms on the surface of the ocean. There's the ripple of me,